Hello, I'm Luke Pecoraro, Director of Archeology, and right now we're broadcasting from the Stephen J. Wood Conservation Lab on the grounds of Drayton Hall. In this space, we frequently use this to display archaeological material that's been excavated at Drayton Hall from 1974 to date, where we wash, mend, and analyze all of the different finds that have come from the grounds of this remarkable plantation. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about teaware and the vast expanse that we have that's represented in the archaeological record that's been recovered from Drayton Hall. We've got a couple of really unique specimens and artifacts that have not been found elsewhere in North America that all relate to tea consumption on this plantation. Over here we have fragments that were recovered from a black Delftware teapot which would have been produced in the Netherlands at the tail end of the 17th century. Now, this is remarkable because it's got a very unique time span. It wasn't produced for very long, made in Holland, and then transported across the Atlantic to North America, giving us a really interesting benchmark for timing of tea consumption in the American colonies. This is something that would have predated the Drayton family's occupation of the property, but we do know that the Draytons were also voracious tea consumers themselves. And all of the other material that you see laid out here on the table would have been purchased by the Drayton family throughout their occupation of the property in the 18th and 19th centuries. One of the really interesting finds that we've come across here at Drayton Hall is this black dragon motif basalt teapot. And this is one of the fragments that came from the bottom, and we recovered part of the teapot lid and part of the teapot spout. This would have been made in Staffordshire in the UK in the 1750s and shipped over directly for the American market. Right next to that, we have some Rosso Antico and black basalt also being turned out by Staffordshire potters in the middle of the 18th century. And all of this material harkens back to a classical design and motif, likely what you would have seen in Roman and Greek potteries from antiquity. As we know, the Drayton family and other members of their set in Charleston are hearkening back to a neoclassical time, so their teaware certainly reflects that too. Not only do we have the United Kingdom represented in the assemblage, but we also have Chinese export porcelain, which would have been coming over in the middle of the 18th century as well. And you have some very fine porcelain examples of teacups with hand-painted glazing on the outside, and we have a number of sets that are represented from that particular period that also speak to the same set. So these are large, expansive tea sets that the Drayton family have that they're using for entertaining throughout the 18th century. One of the other unique pieces to point your attention to is this white salt glazed stoneware teapot that you see partially mended. This is a really fun piece because it tells a story. On each one of these different panels are stories that are represented from the Aesop's fables. And there are about 10 that are lining this teapot vessel. So these were used to be able to speak to morality, to be able to tell a story. So it's not just for children. One thing that I will point out that would have been used exclusively by children is this fragment of a child's tea set. And we've got two pieces of the teacup right there. This is a piece of creamware which comes into the American market beginning in the 1740s, 1750s. And it would have been used by children as a toy, but then also an important act of mimicry. So you're thinking about emulating your parents, drinking tea and consuming. The children's tea set would have been used for that exact function. And it really speaks to the fact that there are multiple generations of Drayton family members who are living at Drayton Hall and consuming tea. As also one of the other things that's part of the tea service and tea ceremony, we have this beautiful inlaid tea box that comes to us through the Drayton Hall collection. And this box would have contained canisters where there would have been dried tea leaves, enabling whoever was making tea and brewing tea to be able to blend them together. And again, this is a gendered role, and it was more often than not carried about by the mistress of the house. We thank you for spending the time with us today to learn more about the Charleston Tea Party and the important role that the Drayton family had in this event leading to the run-up of the Revolutionary War. We encourage you to visit Drayton Hall, see the archaeological discoveries taking place, and the important role that preservation has in displaying this home to the public and opening its doors to learn about the Drayton family in North America.